Today, as promised, we continue our series on artificial insemination. SUNUP's Austin Moore is here with the importance of nitrogen tank handling.
When we're talking about AI, one thing you need to pay special attention to is this tank and how you handle its contents as you move them to the cow. Here to talk about that is Dan Stein, livestock production specialist. Dan, first of all, what is this tank? It looks pretty robust, but you say it can also be very delicate at the same time.
This is a liquid nitrogen tank that we use to store semen with on the farm, and essentially all it is a tank within a tank. We have between the two is insulation and a vacuum seal to keep the nitrogen from evaporating. Right. So again, this is one of the things that's overlooked as far as is management of the semen tank, and again, management of the semen as far as handling, as far as loading the gun from the tank to the cow.
Okay, well, let's start talking about maintenance on this tank. How do we, first of all, I mean, you say you've had one of these for quite a few years now that you're still using that's just fine. Yes,
well, I started AIing back in the early 70s, and I bought a used tank when I first started. It's still fine.
So what kind of maintenance do you do on the tank?
Well, it's, again, one of the first things you notice here, here we're at the OSU dairy, we're in the storage room where this is kept, but it's concrete floor, and you notice we have
just a trash can lid here.
Trash can lid just to keep it up off the floor. It's very important that we can lose vacuum on this tank at any time.
Okay.
And any contact on the floor or around any other, chemicals, you could have some deterioration of the tank. And and it's important that you either keep it on, say like a wooden pallet, some 2x4 blocks, just off any concrete.
Just something to keep it raised up, kind of isolated on its own there.
Yes,
Okay.
And the other thing is, keep it where almost, I'll say just almost in the way, because again, one of the things you can see if you're starting to lose vacuum is we lift this tank up, you'll see liquid nitrogen or vapor.
Right,
we know we have nitrogen still in the tank, but if we have a vacuum leak, we might see frost starting to develop
on the outside.
On the outside,
okay.
And that's a key sign that, hey, I've got trouble, and you need to, get what you have out of there into another tank. So.
Now, what about, obviously we're not using this thing necessarily all year. Is it something you put up in store? Do you want to keep it in use all year?
I'd recommend, keeping it full all year. Again, most of the time you're not going to use the semen that you purchased for that breeding season.
And just want to go.
And so I suggest just keeping maintenance, keeping it maintained.
So we're talking about keeping the level in there, keeping it running. How do we check that level?
If you check with, you can check with any, like your breeder service that maybe fills your tank. They'll be glad to give you one of these, or just a yardstick.
Okay.
And again, tank should be checked once a week. And you can see our nitrogen level is right here, and you can monitor this weekly. And say you do have a slow leak, that this is one way you'll be able to notice that, hey, I'm losing nitrogen quicker than normal, and allow you to get something done. So again, a yardstick will work, a broom handle, just anything to monitor
that you're maintaining that same level.
Maintaining that level.
Now, if you find a leak, I mean, how long do you have to?
It varies. I mean, we can lose vacuum and lose nitrogen, overnight, or it can be over several days or weeks. So it just really don't want to go down below 3 inches in the bottom of the tank is kind of the minimum that you need to be worried about as far as being able to get it filled. But once it does go dry, again, whatever semen's in there, you'll lose. So it's very important that you monitor that tank. So.
Now let's talk about common problems people have here. What do you hear most from folks if they call you, say, hey, I'm having trouble with my tank, I'm having trouble with this, something's
well, when I get a call from somebody that says, look, my percentage this year was just not what I've had in the past, I go back to the very beginning on what might be going on, and I start at the tank as far as how they handle their semen, and it may not be the technique in the cow, it may be before they get to the cow, and that's the place I start. So liquid nitrogen is -320. As you go up into the tank, temperature changes. There is a frost line. See that frost line right there?
Oh, absolutely.
I tell people work below the frost line or at the frost line. That level's about -110 to -120.
And as you come up, that's going to get much warmer quickly.
On a warm day, if you're up at the top of the tank or over the tank, you can be at plus 50 degrees.
Which is going to make a huge difference in the storage of that.
Well, yes, because you're going to start any damage to the semen will be permanent, and then that can be a problem with as far as your conception.
Any refreezing, thawing, refreezing, and so on, you've got no trouble.
No, if it's thawed out, you don't want to go back in the tank again. As far as it's just going to be detrimental to the semen. So there is a freezing process that it has to go through, and just to pull a straw out, thaw it out, and say, well, I don't need it, put it back in. No, it's not going to work.
All right. Dan, we thank you so much. I think we've learned quite a bit today, and we'll be back to talk about the actual procedure, actually taking it out of here, talking about our straws, and then how do we go about the actual process of inseminating the animal.
Okay.